Change is integral to nature. Change, both big and small, steers our life onward. Some changes are physical and happen within a short time. Other changes occur slowly on a subtle level. Changes that happen in a man's attitude belong to the level of subtle change. A probe into history will tell us that one man's search could bring about a revolution. Bharat too has many examples of men who scripted the transformation of the people and society through the power of their personality and life philosophies. Like Maharshi Vedavyasa, who arranged the Vedas into 4 categories and wrote the Mahabharata. Like Buddha, who rejected the lures of the royal palace and devoted himself to search for truth through contemplation and lived that truth. Like Adi Shankaracharya, who established the tenets of Advaita. Like Swami Vivekananda, who travelled far and wide as a true voice of spirituality, as the voice of a resurgent Bharat. Like Mahatma Gandhi, who liberated this land from centuries of slavery through a non-violent war. Many are the great souls who have become part of our people's psyche and wrote a script of change. Coming to the present, is the script of change not being written? Why are the time-honored philosophies of this world not able to influence contemporary world, which does not seem to be going in the right direction? We are today unresponsive to great thoughts. They have become dry philosophy, like big tomes never opened. When the world is sleeping with the pillow of variety of rich knowledge sources, will anyone take up the adventure of inventing a new revolutionary transformation methodology? Will anyone, at this point in time, create a world revolution not witnessed so far? Is it possible for one lone human being to have the courage to renew centuries-old thought patterns, customs and traditions? Is there such a person who, in the midst of a life journey that was rich, fulfilling and satisfying in all aspects, with loving relations, wealth, position and respect in society, will one throw away all this in a second and create a situation of his own will that would make him an object of derision and virulent opposition? Someone endowed with the best of qualities and talent to match, a yogi of purest and highest level, fit for the world's highest praise, yet the world does not know him. One who created no philosophy of his own, regarded himself merely as an instrument of God, who showed a way to the world through his own life. This Bhagiratha, who is he? He and his influence can no longer be kept hidden from the world, for the spiritual seed he sowed and nurtured with his penance, sacrifice and incognito sustenance has grown into a huge tree, giving shade and sustenance to the whole world. It is this oak tree, the Prajapita Brahmakumaris Ishwariya Vishwavidyalaya, led by the women of Bharat, women of exemplary character and purity.
भारत पावन था जब सतयुग था, जब पावन था अभिपतित है, तो ये सारे सृष्टि को पावन बनाने वाला कौन? वो कहते हैं कि उनको ही तो याद करना चाहिए ना।
a person of nobility and righteousness, and compellingly attractive. This was Dada Lekh Raj. He was a householder like any other. A firm faith in the adoration of Mahavishnu and an abiding love for Bhagavad Gita were the two main features of his daily spiritual discipline. But this lasted only up to the day he began to get divine visions. It was at the age of 60 that Dada Lekh Raj began to receive the gift of new vision for a new world from the Supreme Being. With a series of visions and revelations that lasted for several years, God raised Dada from the status of an ordinary householder of a spiritual inclination to the hero of a true world renaissance. The Supreme Being poured into the soul the deepest spiritual knowledge that had never been heard before. The Supreme Being elevated Dada Lekh Raj's awareness to a level far above the physical of this body and the visible world, to a level beyond sense perception. Experiencing an incomparable joy, ecstatic at discovering this mine of new knowledge, Dada Lekh Raj quit his lucrative diamond business. He began contemplating on the gems of knowledge that the Supreme Being was showering on him. To bring God's words to the plane of action, he began to practice experiments on himself first and shared them with his family. Dada realized that his mind had started traveling to realms of thought that he had not known so far. He devoted a lot of effort to unravel the meanings of visions and new ideas that had begun to pour in his mind. He carried out extensive discussions with his contemporaries and gurus, but they gave him explanations based on their received knowledge, based on scripture and tradition, for they were ignorant of such divine experiences. Soon, it was clear to Dada Lekh Raj that this effort was not going to bear fruit. The visions were continuous, but the sharing now became confined to a close circle of his family and friends. But nobody was in a position to realize, neither he nor his friends or family members, that the Supreme Being was crafting a Bhagirath in order to fulfill the task of the great transformation of Iron Age world. Dada began to get revelations of his own existence, that the soul was totally different from the body was revealed to Dada, as also the secrets of birth and death and the life journey of souls. Until then, Dada had worshipped Narayan. Another vision made him realize that the object of his prayer, Narayana, was the fulfilled stage of Nara, or man, that he had once been Narayan, and that the time was ripe for rediscovery, the Narayan in him. That God is a subtle light situated in Brahma Tattva, or the sixth element that lay beyond the realm of five elements. That it was pure consciousness was revealed to Dada. The last two revelations were a grand composite of all that had been revealed earlier and the secrets they held. One was of an impending great war that caused immense destruction, with the vision of explosion of atomic energy that laid waste to the earth. This was followed by a second, that of a beginning of paradise or golden age. After this revelation, God ordered him to begin a Mahayajna for the transformation of Iron Age. The practices adopted by Dada were totally different. When people came to his presence, their hearts full of sorrow and devoid of mental peace, within a second their minds were clear of doubts and they received a deep spiritual experience. What was unique, Dada Lekh Raj realized, was that his own experiences were not limited to him, that they were being felt by each and every one sitting in front of him. In due time, these practices attained clarity and power. Dada Lekh Raj began to be addressed as Om Baba and Brahma Baba. This gathering of spiritual seekers began to be called Om Mandali. Dada did not ignore the importance of family as he committed himself more and more to spirituality. A family is not merely a group of 4 or 5. Dada Lekh Raj thought that a family can be as big as the world. What he did was to convert everyone as part of a family. As decreed by God, that he should bestow upon the world what God was bestowing upon him. Brahma Baba started a Jnana Yajna. He gave his all, body, mind, and the crores that he had earned to this cause of world renewal through a unique institutional setup for the propagation of divine knowledge, the Yajna. The reins of which were entrusted to a small group of women. A brave young woman, Jagdamba Saraswati, was chosen as the leader. These were times when women had no status in society, not to speak of a place in things of spiritual nature. Forced into marriage at young age, they were deprived of proper education. Theirs was a life of enslavement to the whims of their husbands, and they were mere objects of gratification. It was these women, their power of spirituality now rekindled, who decided that they would lead a life of purity. This was unlike the sannyasa, life of mendicancy, that men opted for, who quit societal obligation in order to lead a pure life. These brave women fulfilled their familial obligation lovingly and at the same time tried hard to guard their purity of mind and body. There were young girl children also in this group. They took a vow that they would guard their purity, which they regarded as a birthright in their entire lives. Witnessing these changes, never before seen in any practice of spiritual nature, tradition-bound and narrow-minded persons of the society began a campaign of opposition. They tried every method to derail the effort of Brahma Baba and Om Mandali. They took them to law court as well as to obtain legal ban, but the court had to heed to the powerful counter-arguments of the spiritually charged women leaders of the group and dismissed the complaint. The opponents even stooped to the level of blocking the children's entry into their haven, making them stand in the hot sun for hours. But little did they know of that spiritual power of these godly children was far above their tender age. The children did not tire in the sun, but their opponents did, and they had to retreat. Soon the level of opposition was raised to that of brutality, sparing none. Mother or daughter, members of the group were forcefully bound them back to their homes. Yet, the moment they got their opportunity, they came running back to Baba, for they were unwilling to take even a sip of water without the experience of godly bliss they received in Baba's presence. Opposition to Om Mandali grew unbated, and the worst was attempted. A plot to kill Brahma Baba was hatched, and a Sikh was hired for a heinous job. Even as he raised the weapon before Baba, he saw his own Guru in front. The next instant, he lay at Baba's feet and confessed the truth. Baba calmed him and gave him the godly message and sweets as well. The opponents regrouped again. More destruction was to follow. There was stone throwing at the premises of Om Mandali. The building was set on fire. But God ensured that these yogis remained unharmed, like the Pandavas who escaped the house of Lekh just before it was reduced to ashes. Baba shifted the satsang to Karachi from Hyderabad, Sindh, in order to pursue his objective from more peaceful surroundings. At the same time, even in the absence of Baba, at Sindh, the spiritual seeds sown earlier had begun to take root, despite the shackles of opposition at home. The women, lost in their remembrance of God, gathered whenever they could and discussed the spiritual knowledge that they had acquired, and enriching themselves with spiritual power unknown to others. They then waged a direct war with their protectors, and after convincing them and with their consent, they began to see Baba. With their sincere and sustained effort, they were successful in curing their husbands and fathers of their impure habits. They also began to respect Baba. In Karachi, Baba and children spent 14 years completely away from all attachments, free from the public gaze. They devoted themselves completely to the listening of God's knowledge that was being received by Brahma Baba, to the practice of Raja Yoga meditation and its techniques, understanding the divine visions and attaining equipoise. This was the preparation for the impending future. The partition of Bharat had taken place. From Karachi, the holy gathering relocated to the hilltops of Aravali. By then, the young children had graduated into young men and women of godly disposition and peaceful temperament. Himself becoming the first example of sacrifice and penance, Brahma Baba began a phase of intense self-transformation. Simultaneously, there was God's direction that this stream of knowledge should flow in all 4 directions of Bharat and the world over. The yogis, multiplying by the 100, began to slake the thirst of a dried-up land like a clear and cool stream. Today, this stream is a river flowing across continents. Brahma Baba remained a mere instrument, a chariot of God. The charioteer and the giver of the Jnana Ganga was the incorporeal Supreme Father. He never thought of himself to be a Mahatma or a Guru. His position in the Yajna was that of an elder who cleansed his soul through Raja Yoga, and it remains so till this day. He regarded himself as a servant of the children. He would first greet the children, and only then he would receive their greetings. The Yajna entered a period of poverty. Brahma Baba remained unfazed by the prospect of 400 persons staying hungry, for there was not a single grain in store. God was responsible, not he. Baba believed that God held the reins in his hands, and he thought with complete faith. Many withdrew from the yajna at this difficult hour, and God attested to the faith of Brahma Baba, and the yajna marched forth. Brahma Baba was ready to enter the phase of completion of his spiritual role in a way that could convey to others the Narayana form of Nara or man. Baba's face was filled with a glow. Unlike before, he withdrew from his earlier life of activity. His mind was at all times deeply immersed in the Brahmaloka and the Supreme Soul. On the night of 18th January 1969, Brahma Baba withdrew to his room for rest after his last activity. Dadi Prakashmani reached Brahma Baba's room as though ordained by time. Putting his hand in Dadi's, Brahma Baba transferred the accumulated power of his penance and blessings, along with the responsibility to lead the spiritual army that he had created. Brahma Baba now flew away from the physical body. In order to script the next phase of the epochal change, Baba adopted his subtle angelic form.